Hi, good evening. Welcome to the second live I've ever done. Thank you for all of the folks who showed up last night and for everybody who's being super understanding as I'm having a pretty steep learning curve here. I think I'll probably stay on live for maybe 30 or 45 minutes, and my eldest kid is going to join me here in a few minutes. She's currently locking up the ducks and chickens in the backyard for me so that I can do this. If I wait any later to lock them up, then the raccoons are going to get them because it's dusk. So I am also I've posted on Facebook and on my YouTube page asking folks for questions that they might like me to answer. I have a lot of my YouTube audience that doesn't do TikTok, and so I think I'm going to be reposting my TikTok lives to YouTube. So hopefully some of the questions will come from folks over there as well. Hi, B, my daughter's on. Hi, B. You could come and hang out with us in here and talk if you want. No pressure. Thank you. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So let me see here some questions that people had on TikTok. All of my family is home right now, so there's going to be a lot of noise in the background. I'm not exactly sure what's happening in the other room. I know that my husband and my third kid are getting ready to go to a Magic the Gathering tournament, so hopefully it will get a little quieter then. Hey, Ruth, do you need a hand? Okay, hang on a second, kiddo. Okay, I'll be right back, guys. I'm going to pause the live for just 1 second if I can figure out how to do that. Oh, actually, hang on. Dad to the rescue.
I'm coming.
We have a really old house. So our house is 1922 and we bought it as a fixer-upper. We have a land trust house. I'm happy to answer questions. Oh, thank you. Thank you for... Yeah, I got my channel back, and actually today I found out that they put me back in the creator fund. They're starting to remove the violations that the hacker put on my account. So our house we bought in 1922, it's a land trust house. It's a really big fixer-upper. We've been here 17 years, and it's still a fixer-upper. We've done a few things, but I spent most of my time on the garden. So a lot of the house is falling apart, including the bathroom door where the doorknob falls off really easily, and I think that's what happened. Are you okay, Ruth? Okay, so... let me look at some of the questions I got on Facebook. How do you think we start the work of imagining collectively what kind of government we actually want? Boy, that's a really good question. I don't know if y'all have any thoughts there. I think the first part of that for me, and I think this is a lot of content I've been making lately, is just asking folks to dream more and asking folks to believe that they deserve more from our government and they deserve more from American society than what we actually have. I think so many of us have lived in this system our entire lives, right? And we've really been indoctrinated by the public school model, by everything we hear, from our government and in media. We've been indoctrinated to believe that we deserve less and that we should be grateful for the scraps that we're given. And so I think the first part of imagining collectively what we could have for the future of this country is just encouraging people, reminding people that, hey, you actually do deserve more, and it's okay to talk about that. It's okay to dream for something better. I think a lot of let me connect this to something folks have been saying in my comments on YouTube a lot. A lot of my YouTube audience is not from the United States. So I get a lot of feedback from people in Europe and Canada and Australia, especially about their perceptions of the US. And one of the things they say is, y'all really believe in American exceptionalism. And I think that's true. We're taught to be really patriotic. I spent most of my childhood in Texas, and there was very much a lot of patriotism. But at the same time, I think that American exceptionalism is teaching us that that's all that we should have. That's all that we should want. That this is what exceptional is. And therefore you should be grateful for the circumstances you're living under because it's super, this is the best you could possibly have. And so I think it actually caused a lot of Americans to settle for less than what we deserve. Hi, Ruth. Are you gonna join me?
Sure.
Okay. Did you get over your, did you get free of the bathroom?
Well, the doorknob, there's two ends of the doorknob, and they're stuck on a metal bar that's square, and the bar part is what turns the lock. And the doorknobs like to fall off all the time, but you just put them back on and then you can turn it.
Yeah.
But this time, it would turn and it wouldn't turn the bar.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I had to use something else to turn the lock.
So we need a new doorknob, one that's not really old and falling apart.
We replaced it this year, but we replaced it with one that has the same problem.
We have the vintage one, but I think I replaced it with another vintage one from the rebuilding center, and it has the same problem. So that's my bad. Okay, so let's see. The doorknob is missing screws. It has all of the screws. Oh, Hippo Hardware. I need to go there. I have not been there in a really long time. I tend to go to the rebuilding center, but yes, thank you for that reminder. Hippo Hardware is a really fun place to go. Have you been there, Ruth? Did Grandma and Grandpa ever take you? No. Okay.
No.
What's for your dinner or your snack, Ruth? What are you eating?
I made soup dumplings from Costco, and I put brown sugar and chili oil on them.
Yeah.
Mukbang time.
It's just a snack. It's only 5:00 here, so we're probably gonna eat dinner pretty late. I want to get to the second part of this question. Someone said bon appetit. I want to get to the second part of this question about imagining collectively what kind of government that we want. Someone said, do you have a timeline? I know that's a ridiculous ask. Just looking for some assurance that the light I spy at the end of this long darkness is indeed the end of the tunnel and not the light of an oncoming train. I don't actually have a timeline. I think that that's really difficult to project how long. And I also think it's maybe a little bit of a fallacy to imagine that there's a timeline and at the end of it, we have the America that we dream of. I think that's part of the reason we're in this problem now. Folks who watch a lot of my regular content know that I really like Tim Snyder. I recently went and listened to him speak about his new book on freedom. But that's one of the things that he talks about is this: you either fight for freedom or you die in unfreedom. You have to constantly struggle. You have to constantly exercise your rights to defend them. And that there is no point at which you've just arrived and you now have the ideal society. You now have the society that you've dreamt of. It's just always struggle. There's always going to be folks who are pushing back and want to dismantle and want to exploit. You got your account back. Great. I did get my account back. Yeah, I did. And actually, I just found out that they put me back in the creator fund. So they're slowly taking away all of the CGVs that the hacker got on my account by posting really awful, spammy content that was awful. I don't think I can talk about it on live or I'll probably get a strike. So they're slowly taking all of that off. And so hopefully my account will be back to normal in a few days. TikTok has been really, really receptive. And Aaron at Go Live Vegas has been like, I would not have my account back if it were not for him and helping me out. So, okay, back to this question. Is there a timeline where we can expect to have an America that we deserve? Do you have thoughts, Ruth? Okay, 2, and then you can answer. I think it's hard to project, and I don't think that work is ever done. You want to answer when you come back?
I'm just gonna ask if I can say what we were talking about over the summer.
Yeah, get your coffee and then come back. Yeah.
Oops. Well, we were talking about over the summer at one point when I was walking on the estuary at like midnight. It was like, you were talking about different countries' revolutions in the past. I think like the time you're talking about like Romania and like different countries that had like basically overcome oppressive empires and regimes and like the different ways that they can relate to what's happening in the US. And I was saying like, in terms of what that question brought up, like a timeline, like there have been successful rebellions and successful overthrowing of oppressive empires in history, but they never got rid of the concept of an oppressive empire existing. Like there's since obviously been new ones or ones that have come back. But also over the course of human history, the idea of like an oppressive regime is very new, and obviously capitalism is very new. And so like over the course of human history, like we don't really know what the long-term patterns are for like this whole concept of a regime existing at all. Like we're still at the very, very beginning. So like maybe we've had like a couple thousand years of it, but there's in our lifetime we're never going to see the end of oppressive empires. So I don't really know how definitive of an answer you can get we can only look to short-term patterns to see what our lifetime futures might look like.
I think you bring up a really good point, especially with capitalism being relatively new on the scale of like human existence and the kind of economies we've had.
Yeah, oppressive empires and regimes are much older than capitalism, but like both of those things, in terms of human history, there have been tens, hundreds of thousands of years of humans before those concepts even existed. So like we really, I don't know, we can't really give any super definitive answers on what the future of humanity will look like.
And I think that's also something, believing that there's like an end to history. I know my mutual Tad Sturmer talks about this a lot, believing, a lot of Americans believed that history was something that happened in the past versus we are constantly making history and we're constantly living through history and shaping history, and that history doesn't end because there's no point at which we arrive. And I think that that can be difficult for a lot of us who just want to get to a place where it's all over and we can kind of rest, and believing that you have to, understanding that you have to be constantly vigilant and constantly defending your rights, I think is something that is can appear discouraging for a lot of people, even though it's just the reality of the situation.
I think after every big war, especially world wars, people thought the same. They were like, well, this is the end. Now now we're working towards utopia. We're working, what do the Frutiger era people say? Like the future we were promised. We're finally going to get to the, like, global utopia, but reality is not quite there.
I think you bring up a really good point. Imagine what it must have been like for, you know, like your great-grandparents or my grandparents and my great-grandparents to go through World War I and think like, oh, it's all over. We struggled so hard. I guess there's some similarities between us experiencing COVID and then experiencing this now, right? We're all exhausted from COVID. We all lost a lot during that period of time. Not that the pandemic is over, because it's not, but we all lost a lot. And then we're exhausted and we are ready to have this period of rest and we don't get it. Instead, we have more struggle.
I was going to make a joke about that guy that just turned 100 years old, but is his name too offensive for Instagram Live?
This is TikTok, but what's his name?
He's from Mary Poppins.
Oh, Dick Van Dyke? No, you can say Dick Van Dyke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, someone said they got their post deleted for saying his name.
Uh-oh. What were you going to say about him?
Oh, well, just he's lived through multiple. He's 100 years old.
Yeah.
How many times has he been like, finally, we're gonna reach world peace?
Do you remember what Walmart and Super Kmart started out price and close, the small grocery? Yeah. Is that your mini me? Hi, friendly honey badger. This is Ruth. This is my eldest. She's, how old are you? Almost 23? Ruth is the same age that I was when I had her. So that's weird.
Wow.
Yeah. She's my eldest and it's winter break. So she's just home hanging out. So in reality, she's not really my mini me. I don't know. I don't think you look anything like me. You look just like my mom. You look like grandma. Yeah.
Our lifestyles are very different.
Yeah, and Ruth and I are very, very different people.
I'm a furry.
Ruth went to the goth club last night, right? Like we're very different people. Although you like ducks and chickens, and you're a beekeeper, just like I'm a beekeeper.
I'm more of a beekeeper than you because you're scared of them.
I am scared of bees still. I am scared.
You're also allergic.
That's why I still do beekeeping.
You got bees to get over your fear of bees.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it was exposure therapy.
it didn't work super well.
And I'm not actually thanks for your honesty. I'm not actually allergic to them. I just have a really strong localized response. So someone said shout out for you being a goth.
Slay.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Coffin Club.
I think the future feels scary because climate change and resource depletion is newer. I think that's a really good point. That for me, that's probably the thing that gets me the most down and has me the most freaked out about the future. Especially because we're looking at the Trump regime having rolled back so many climate protections and so many environmental protections.
How do you think I feel as a fish and wildlife major?
So, Ruth, your focus is like on salmon.
Well, they got rid of the focuses.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm interested in. Unless there's a lot of people in my major that are more interested in marine biology that I've met recently and like coastal stuff. I'm more interested in like river inland stuff. I mean, obviously salmon are anadromous and they're both marine and river, but
yeah. Do you want to talk about for a second about what's happened to your whole career path, like because of Donald Trump?
Well, it's been kind of depressing the last year. So the beginning of this year, in winter and spring term, I had to take 2 career skills classes for my major, and both of those classes had a requirement where every week you would find job listings in your career and your field that existed like in real time. You didn't apply to them, but they had to exist and you had to be eligible for them and submit them for a grade. For 2 terms I did that, so like almost 6 months. And every week I would watch the list go down, and at the beginning it was like great, but now there's low-key nothing. I made a joke at one point. I had to just to get the assignment in, I had to submit a job listing that was for the nonprofit RFK Jr. used to work at in New York.
Riverkeepers.
Because I was struggling to find ones to even submit every single week. And, or like another big example is a lot of people, the way that they get started working in the Fish and Wildlife Department or like the Forestry Service to get on a federal level is they will do something called the Pathways Program, where you do a certain amount of like volunteer or like internship hours for the federal government, and at the end you are contractually owed a federal job. So a lot of people in my field do that, and that's how they start their career, and it's taught to us at multiple points in the Fish and Wildlife classes is like this is a good option. Over the summer, one of my roommates had done the Pathways program, and she had put in all of her hours and she was owed a job at the end, but Trump was like, no, we owe you a job, but actually, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
Get fucked. And so the whole reason that we were roommates is because she had to last minute find a job that paid like $1,400 for 3 months work or something ridiculous, because her job was supposed to be the Pathways job, but she just wasn't there anymore.
Well, when you started at Oregon State, one of the reasons that you picked that program, aside from being a land grant school and then having a really good Fish and Wildlife Department, was because they had these different programs, right? You could do the Pathways internship. If you did it, you were guaranteed a job with the Fish and Wildlife Department. They also had one with the Army Corps of Engineers, which we have the Bonneville Dam out here, and they need Fish and Wildlife people with salmon reclamation and dam projects. And so you could get an internship with them, and that would guarantee a job. And there were tons of postings when you started your program with those jobs, and also with the USGS as well. And all of those jobs are just completely gone.
Yeah, I would like watch in my career skills class, like they would say things definitively in the lectures, and then the professors would be like, actually, we don't know. We might have to revamp this.
Yeah, because the whole career is that whole industry is just basically gone.
Well, like over the summer, I lived right by the EPA headquarters.
In Oregon, yeah.
I mean like the building over. And when there were still people at NOAA, and there were still a couple of people at Fish and Wildlife headquarters, they were mostly OSU workers. And when I would like be doing project stuff with any of those people, they would always be like, oh, look guys, it's the EPA, it's a ghost town, nobody's home. Like they would joke about it, but they would also be like, this is terrible. There's nobody here.
Can I ask, someone asked a question for you. Talking about the future as a young kid, would you consider AI a danger for humanity replacement?
I mean, I guess that's a pretty big question. Replacement, I mean, the calculus class I took this past term was, had like a business focus. It said it was like calculus for STEM, but then it was really like everyone there was a business major.
Could you talk a little louder?
Oh, and our teacher had worked in like business, math, I don't know, it's not really my specialty, for most of her career before she became a teacher. And she talked a lot about AI and basically like what's happening right now in the business side of things is the AI bubble is being held together by like people are being promised that AI can do the jobs of all of these people, and so they are already replacing people with the AI before even testing it out. And then they are slowly finding, sort of like if anyone's seen South Park, where Cartman fires all of the theme park workers and then slowly finds out why they were there in the first place. They're slowly finding out that AI, it's like, it's not what they're being told it is, and it actually cannot do all of these jobs the way that it's being advertised. And like, it's sort of like folding ideas, talking about the metaverse, and like the way it's being presented to like all these higher ups is like, it's such a big thing that they can't afford to miss out if it happens to be the next big thing. Like if it's the next internet, they can't afford to miss out. So they're like shooting themselves in the foot, and like so objectively there are many jobs that AI will not be able to replace. I think there are some. I mean, often throughout history there have been jobs that can be made to be automated by a computer. But a lot of them can't, and not just because they're like they need physical hands, it's just like it's something that have to have human eyes on it. And also, again, this isn't my specialty, but like AI itself also needs to be run by humans. Like ChatGPT has like real human workers that have to like constantly be updating it so that it doesn't sound crazy to the people who use it. Like it doesn't just exist as this objective machine thing. It's still made by people and run by human labor.
I think so. I don't know if anybody on here follows CJ Trowbridge. He's one of my favorite accounts, and he knows a ton about AI. And one of the things he talks about is like AI is trying to superimpose itself in places to make it seem like it's necessary. Like you log into your email now and it'll be like, we'll suggest an AI write your email, or the same thing like your AI search function on Google. Those aren't necessary and we don't need them, but they're trying to put them everywhere because they're trying to make this kind of superfluous, unnecessary thing seem like it's already cemented in our society.
It very much reminds me of the crypto fad of the past decade. The way that like so much of their method is like the crypto bros method of trying to make it seem like it's already established and necessary in society when it's not. Like you would see crypto bros put Bitcoin stickers on cash registers that be like, this cash register only uses Bitcoin, when it actually doesn't, and like use the idea of it seeming cemented and necessary for society when it's actually not, to try and like get more people wrapped up in their scheme. And
or like this vending machine takes Bitcoin, but it doesn't really.
The vending machine, okay, here's an example of how that looks like for AI. There was, on campus, there was a new vending machine. They'd replaced one of the old ones with, it was like AI smart vending machine, and it was like vending machine of the future. And basically what it was a normal vending machine. You pay money and a robot will spit out one of the snacks with a little robotic arm, and then you pick it up. For this one, you pay money and then you open the door, you pick up the snack. And when you open the door, a little automated voice plays saying, "This is a future AI smart machine. You are being recorded." Something like that. And like, they hadn't added, there's nothing artificial.
There's no added value.
There's nothing intelligent about it. It's just like a vending machine that's easier to engineer because you don't even have to have the arms. But also, but also something I thought was funny about it was that the vending machine itself had so many bugs and errors. They had printed out in like Comic Sans and laminated a list of troubleshooting frequently asked questions, and there was like 10 of them. It was like, if this error happens, you have to do this. If this problem happens, you have to do this. I'm like, why not just have a normal vending machine.
Somebody asked who the creator was I was talking about. I don't know how to type into I don't know if I can type into the live. It's CJ Trowbridge. I don't know if you can see. He has great content. I love his content. He's fantastic. Somebody left a comment that they have 5 kids and none of their kids want to have kids. And I thought I would touch on that because none of you guys want to have kids. I have 4 kids and I realize my youngest is 14 and my third kid is 17 and their opinions may change, but you don't want to have kids and B doesn't want to have kids. Probably. Oh, hi. So.
I don't know. Do I have having kids money laying around?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. It doesn't feel as stable.
Mm-hmm.
Why not have a vending machine with the old pulls? I don't know that my kids know what that looks like. I should show them. Yeah, thank you for whoever dropped that in the chat, CJ Trowbridge. I think he's great. If I was Ruth's age right now, I would not be having children. I would not be having children in 2025 America. I understand, like I have friends who have had kids in the last year and I have one friend who's pregnant. I totally understand that, but I support anybody's choice to not reproduce right now. Things are really unstable.
Listen, if I happened upon a kid, if my partner had a kid, I would do my best, but I'm not planning on making one.
Right. Which is terrible because 23 years ago, I was like, I want a bunch of kids. And even at that time, right, we had terrible health insurance. We were really poor and we had terrible health insurance, but I felt like a great sense of optimism about the future, right? And I think a lot of Gen Z don't feel that way. Don't feel like they're going to be handing their kids a better future. This is my second live ever, Tanya. That's why you didn't know that I did them. I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah. I'm Ruth, would you really quickly tell people about your ichthyology class and your AI proctoring as long as we're talking about AI? Because this is one of the things that I think where AI is trying to make itself seem, or the companies that run AI, because it's not a thing. It doesn't have what is the word I'm looking for? Consciousness. It doesn't have agency. Where
no more consciousness than Google Translate.
Yeah, exactly. Where the companies that run it are trying to make it seem necessary. Will you talk about your ichthyology class while I look up more questions from people?
I would have to ask Ridley how to phrase this because phrase in the way that what people think AI technology is right now versus what it actually is. I have an understanding, but I don't quite know how to phrase it. People who understand more will come for me if I phrase it wrong. What happened in my ichthyology class was there were 2 exams that had to be proctored because it's a remote class. Sometimes it's up to the professor. So sometimes they'll have it be in person, sometimes they'll have a remote proctor, sometimes it'll just be what do you call it, in good faith. Yeah, so for your siblings, at the community college, if they do a remote so you can either go to the testing center and they can proctor it, and then a real human being is getting paid to proctor your exam, or they can do remote proctor over Zoom, where still a real human being, you set up on your iPad or another device, your phone, you set up a live stream and they watch you while you take your exam to make sure you're not cheating. Or maybe your professor is just I low-key don't care. We'll just trust you. But so those are 3 really viable options, right? Yeah, for this one, they decided to try something new. It was a company called Proctor.io, whatever. Proctor.io, yeah. Proctor.io. And they were going to have it none of the quizzes were proctored, but 2 of the exams were. And for this company, they charged about $20 per student, and they would have an AI proctor the exam, except it wasn't just that. You read the terms and conditions. You had to download something from this company onto your computer, and then it was there for good, and it would tap into your microphone, your computer, your microphone, your camera, your keyboard. It could see your search history, it could see your files, it could see what your mouse was doing live, it could see all of your tabs, and it wasn't just when you were taking the exam, it was forever. This company had access to these things, and it could record you without your knowledge, and it would record what you were saying, what you're doing. I looked up online to see other people's experiences through this third-party, unscrupulous company.
Procter.io.
And they said for this specific company that, like, they had professors that would abuse it. So, like, once they had it on their computer, their professor would use it to spy on them outside of exams, outside of scheduled times, and then would say, oh, the department told us we had to get our money's worth out of this. And like some kind of bullshit excuse. And it just, like, was complete invasion of privacy. Also, like, facial recognition. This company now has access to your facial recognition. So obviously I didn't want to do that. So I wrote a big stinking email to my teacher. I brought up all of those concerns, and then I also brought up, I said...
Well, because it's an ichthyology class, right? So you're talking about fish and fish conservation.
Well, just also, so I brought up all those concerns. I brought up how this company is not affiliated with my university. It is a third-party company. It is not trustworthy. There are a lot of untrustworthy tech startups that, like, should not be having your private information like this. I brought up how I'm very passionate about academic integrity and plagiarism, and how the whole reason that we are proctored in the first place is so that we do not plagiarize and we have academic integrity, but they are using this technology that is based off of plagiarism and stealing other people's intellectual property, and that goes against academic integrity. I brought up how this is a class with a huge emphasis on environmental justice and environmental science and conservation, and these generative AI technologies are run off of facilities that are causing pollution. They are using up fresh water. They're using up irreplaceable groundwater. I also brought up the humanities aspect of fish and wildlife and how we should just as much care about human workers as the environment. And I brought up how, again, these data centers, they are run on worker exploitation. So, like, there's a big problem, I know, especially in Kenya, where these facilities don't just run on their own. They have workers that are exploited and sometimes even human trafficked to run these facilities, and it is a huge violation of workers' rights. And so I brought up all these things, and I said, it's not that I just don't want to get caught cheating. Like, I care about academic integrity. I have all of these concerns. And so I offered several different solutions, but the one we landed on was that I would pay for a proctor at a different university to proctor my exam in person. So I ended up doing that. I eventually found a college that did that.
So I think there's local people on the stream. So if you ever have this problem, Portland Community College you can't use their testing center for other universities, like they won't.
Yeah.
But Mount Hood would. You paid Mount Hood like $30, right? And they agreed to proctor the exam so that you didn't
they do
use
this
AI.
regularly.
Yeah.
And that was really great. The staff there were really great,
and they're paid a good wage, right? Like, so you're getting somebody is receiving compensation at a fair wage. All of the unnecessary AI is completely cut out. And you get to take your test and feel like your data is not being harvested, your image isn't being harvested, and that also, like, there's no plagiarism. I thought that the plagiarism aspect was a really good point of, like, generative AI is plagiarizing other people's work off the internet. Sorry, go ahead.
It just felt incredibly hypocritical. And my teacher agreed with me, so this is not something that has been established. This probably wasn't even her idea. This was just, like, something given to them by one of the higher-ups, I guess. And she was like, I completely agree with you and your concerns. And she said, she's going to try and not use this service next term, and she was going to talk to her bosses about these concerns. So I was really happy about that. But unfortunately, my peers did have to still use the third-party Tech Pro service for their exams. Didn't
you say on Reddit, like, some kids talk about their universities that use this program more frequently, they get, like, a burner laptop?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm not really big with technology and computers, but the people that are and, like, know more about this said, and then they have, if they are in a school that does this frequently, but this is just a one-off thing for me, but I'm sure there are universities that do stuff like this all the time. They will get a burner laptop because it is not safe for their personal computer to have these tech bros spying in on their face and their files and their search history and everything. Yeah, I mean, imagine if this, like, company that, like, we have absolutely no trust in, we don't know anything about them, they're not through the university, they're a third-party tech company. Imagine if they have all of your personal data, your passwords, your facial scan, your files. Imagine if they had a data leak. How do we know that they are secure? And then they just leak all of your students' data.
Someone said, not everyone can afford a laptop, let alone two. Yeah, exactly.
Well, obviously, yeah.
Exactly.
So I was like, I'm not going to buy... That's
and what a
I did
waste.
it.
What a waste to have to produce twice as much, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not solving any problems. What's the company? It's called Proctor.io, I think?
Proctor.io. Yeah, one word. Yeah. Oh gosh, there's something else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, well, just the Mount Hood people were really, really lovely, and they helped me even when I had like problems with the exam last minute. So that worked out great. I much prefer to have my exams proctored. So I really wanted to prove to my instructor, I'm like, I'm not cheating. I have no problem being proctored. It is this unsafe, untrustworthy, plagiarizing third-party technology that is the problem. It's not me. So that's why I paid for it myself. But something I did think was funny was something new in the testing center at Mount Hood. There's ads on the wall. I was like, that's kind of weird. Well, they were like travel organs, so they were like pretty, but they were advertisements.
So maybe not to just completely...
I've never seen a testing center with advertisements on the walls.
Not to completely pivot, but there's a creator that I follow who's not from the U.S. who's staying in the U.S. right now, and he was talking about how shocking it is, the quantity of advertising that Americans are exposed to on a like just constant basis everywhere we go. And I don't think that's necessarily something new. Like I remember as a kid in Texas, our school got this deal. I was in 4th grade and our school got this deal where there would be advertising on the walls in the hallway where there previously were like posters talking about school events or, you know, your ABCs, there was advertising instead. And the school was like, we're using that money for our boosters so that we can fund school clubs. But just the overwhelming amount, the overwhelming amount of advertising that we're exposed to. I don't know if people I haven't been to Europe in 25 years, so I don't know if it's different in Europe, if there's less, but it just feels like you can't consume anything without being fed an advertisement.
One of my favorite things ever is the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared TV show. And that's basically one of the messages of that. And it is British, it's British media, is like the pivot in children's media from being meant to teach children to trying to get children to buy things and like all the devastation of that. I think that's really interesting.
Advertising to children in specific?
I haven't looked into this in years and years, but there was something I was looking into a while ago about this in America. There was a point, was it Reagan, who like did away with laws about advertising to children.
Reagan did away with a lot of things.
I'm pretty sure it was Reagan, but like, and like people talk about like the cartoon, people really like the cartoons after this era, like Transformers and My Little Pony, whatever, but they do purely exist to sell toys to children, and like how cartoons before that were different. I think people have a lot of nostalgia for...
Someone said we failed to enshrine the Kids' Bill of Rights in 1992. That's right. We are one of the only countries that has not extended the UN the Convention of the Rights of the Child. That's not something that we in the U.S. have ratified. Children don't have basic rights here, but children are still consumers, right?
What's that meme that's like every UN
Reagan
vote,
did ruin everything. Yeah, sorry.
What's that meme that's like every UN vote for human rights and it's all green except for Australia, America, and Israel.
Yeah, that's true.
Bill to stop blowing up orphans. Voted yes except for
America, Australia, and Israel. Yeah. Cartoons showed sugary cereal and toys. Yeah. And I guess...
I should watch Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. It's so good.
I know, I haven't seen...
I made a doll house about it.
I haven't seen Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, but I know that's one of your favorites. One of the things that is difficult for me as a creator is struggling with being an anti-capitalist and having like these permaculture values and trying to figure out... We were talking about this in the car earlier today. Trying to talk about or think about, strategize about how I can get my content out to people in a way that's in alignment with my ethics, right? Living in a really exploitive system. Like, I mostly make my living on YouTube. YouTube runs ads that I don't have any control over. I get people in my comments all the time. They're like, oh, this ad for PragerU or this ad for whatever horrible company ran on one of your videos. And I don't know if people realize on YouTube that ads are calibrated to you, the viewer, not to my channel. So somebody watching my video will get different advertisements than you will get because it's calibrated to you and what kind of videos you watch. I don't have any good way around that. Like, how can I provide content to people for free? A lot of
pudding.
You're gonna go get pudding? Okay. A lot of people, they have members only content, and I'm really committed to not doing members only content. I have a Patreon, but I don't put anything behind a paywall on my Patreon. Like, I don't make anything that's just for members only, because as a permaculture person, I want all of my content to be available for free. I don't want it to only be there for people who have extra money that they can afford to pay. So the way to do that, and for me to still be compensated for my labor, is then to have my income come from advertising. Somebody said Substack. I created a Substack and I haven't figured out how to use it yet. But I also don't want to ask people like, hey, you have to subscribe and like pay to subscribe for me to make a living. I want it to be available for free. In permaculture, we have this. Whoa, are you okay?
I'm taking this blanket.
You can take my blanket. That's fine. Bye, Bee. That was another child. We have this concept called the Permaculture Design Certificate course. And I don't have my permaculture design certificate, and that is on principle because they're very expensive. And I've thought about it over the years whether or not I wanted to get it. But originally, Bill Mollison, one of the co-founders of permaculture, he envisioned, he called it itinerant permaculture teachers, like traveling the world and teaching each other about permaculture. And he envisioned that as a kind of a free system where people would say, hey, you can come stay with us, I'll give you room and board, and you can teach us the permaculture design 72-hour course. And it has become a really capitalist industry, right? It's become this huge for-profit industry. PDC design certificate courses, they can cost anywhere between $1,500 and $15,000 to get one. And they're just like a certificate. It doesn't have...
You did it.
It just says like, I did it. And the only thing it gets you is you're not allowed to teach a PDC unless you've taken a PDC. So it becomes almost like a pyramid scheme.
A bit like academia.
It's a little bit like academia, right? Can't teach unless you've got that PhD and you went through it.
Not anti-intellectual. I'm just hatred of academia.
Yeah. I don't have I don't have hatred of academia, but I agree there's problems. Have you seen Farming While Beige talk about Bill Mollison? I have not. I do follow Farming While Beige, but I will have to go look at his videos. If you have insight as to his position. I don't have a love relationship. I was going to say love-hate relationship with Bill Mollison. I don't love him. I think he had some ideas, and some of them were really good. He had some ideas, and some of them were really bad. He says I'm going to get the quote imperfect, but he says like every good idea a man had, he stole from a woman. So let's just say those good ideas that Bill Mollison had, he either took from indigenous people or he took them from women or both. What is permaculture? Permaculture is it is a design system, it's a philosophy, and it's a portmanteau of permanent and agriculture or permanent and culture. It was designed by two Australians in the 1970s, David Holmgren and Bill Mollison, and it seeks to have regenerative ways of living, so regeneration in terms of our relationship with the planet and with other people. And there's three ethics. Oh, sorry, going back to this Farming While Beige. He believes that the courses are a Ponzi scheme. Yep, I'm going to be in agreement with him. That's why I don't have my PDC.
Karl Marx failed to account for Labubu.
I think the PDC courses have become just... if your permaculture farm or your permaculture business cannot stay in the black unless you are making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year running PDCs, to me, that's not in alignment with permaculture ethics, especially the ethic of fair share. If people have to pay thousands of dollars to take a 72-hour course, all of the material for that course is online for free. By the way, you can take it all for free. Then, like, what are we doing? How is that in any way being accessible? It just makes permaculture accessible to the very wealthy. So,
it's like those bulldogs that only exist because people only buy them to breed them and sell more of them. Yeah, exactly. I think, like, I don't know, the fact that they started to be paid for to begin with, it was inevitably going to become this. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, who's to say you can't do a PDC without having one? If you already know everything. I mean, he just made it up in the first place.
He did make it up in the first place, right? I mean, there are ways you can tweak and change your PDC to be really specific. So maybe I should jump back a little bit and continue to answer the question that the person asked, what is permaculture? Oh, yeah. So there are 3 ethics in permaculture: earth care, people care, and fair share. Bill Mollison, if we talk about problems with Bill Mollison, he originally described that ethic as set limits to consumption and population. So he was a ZPGer, which we can talk about how I'm really opposed to that whole idea. But he was doing this in the late 1970s when the Population Bomb book was really, really popular. And we were seeing a really big kind of pro-zero population growth movement. But it's been changed over the years to be fair share. And if you look at kind of libertarians and evangelicals and LDS preppers that have come into permaculture, they like to say, share the surplus. So it's like, if I have a little extra, I'll share it. I think fair share is a far better way to describe that ethic.
Mom, things being fair sounds too much like communism.
Yeah, people think that calling
it has to be unfair or else it's woke.
Yeah, exactly. If you try and have equity and you try and make sure everybody has enough before,
it's on the list of banned words.
It is. If everybody has to have, if some people have excess and hoard resources that they don't need while other people do without, that would be a violation of that third ethic. So a lot of permaculture is really agriculture based because they really believed in moving Mollison and Holmgren toward an agrarian society. And we can talk about however imperfect that idea was, but he was really looking at subsistence communities around the world and thinking, how do we improve the techniques for agriculture so that people have a higher yield without exploiting the planet? They have more leisure time, more food security, and that is sort of the basis for building a regenerative society, is making sure that people have enough food to eat and that they are not grinding themselves into the ground to produce food for their community, and they're also not stripping the planet bare. So that's sort of the basis. How do we apply permaculture principles to content creation? So permaculture has 12 principles along with the 3 ethics, and I definitely try to apply them to everything. A lot of people get really frustrated with the way that I think permaculture ethics and principles apply to everything, not just gardening and not just like creating a green, like, I don't want to say a greenhouse. I don't mean that. I mean like a house where you have sustainable design and you've got your solar panels and you're using gray water and you have low VOC paint. Like, I think that permaculture principles can be applied to everything. So especially the principles of produce no waste. That's a really big one. Use and value the margins. Gosh, maybe I should do a live. I don't have time tonight, but maybe I should do a live on the 12 principles. Hi, Tam. How did you get your account back? So let me just set that aside, the permaculture principle question, and I will try and do that in the next live, have a really comprehensive video talking through all of those 12 principles and where I think they're applicable outside of permaculture. I got my account back because Aaron at Go Live Vegas helped me out, and because I spent like 4 to 6 hours a day messaging and sending emails to TikTok for several days in a row, and they helped me out and got my account back for me. So I'm gonna do a video describing how all of that went down. Girl, you're hungry. How's it going?
Mukbang, squid stick. Numbing and spicy squid sticks.
Spicy squid sticks from the Asian market. You also have like the ASMR because everything that you're eating on this feed is like really loud and has like sound. It's okay.
It's dinner time.
It's okay. I'm glad you're hanging out with us. For people that are new, because I think there's some new folks on. This is Ruth. This is my eldest kid.
Hello.
She's home on college break. So.
I'm always home.
Thank you. I'm a permaculturist in Seattle. How we can evolve with tech. Yeah, ASMR. I have to ask, did you use a pattern for your vest? This is the Hylia vest off of Ravelry. It's a free pattern. It uses worsted weight yarn. This is a great vest. This is my favorite vest pattern. A+ do recommend. I think it's spelled Hilja, Hylia.
It goes with your turtleneck.
It does go with my turtleneck. I'm always freezing, so but vests take a lot less yarn than a whole sweater, so I often knit vests and then just wear a turtleneck. Hi, howdy, Ruth. Someone said your mom is awesome and you're both on the right side of history. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Oh, hi. Often knit vests and then just wear a turtleneck. Hi, howdy, Ruth. Someone said your mom is awesome and you're both on the right side of history. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Oh, hi. I didn't think about was I didn't turn my ringer off on my phone, so someone just tried to call me. Yeah, I think maybe I'll go for 10 more minutes. Is that okay? 9 more minutes, and then we'll cut it off at 6, and then I have some videos to edit. I have a video coming out tonight on the Supreme Court. Hey, Ruth, what year of college are you in? That's a good question. You're a junior?
I'm going into my 4th year.
Yeah, so you're like a senior. I guess you're a senior, but you're going to need a 5th year to finish, right?
I've done 3 years in 1 term, so I guess I'm beginning my 4th year.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Thank you for all your unschooling and permaculture videos. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I would like to talk a little bit more about unschooling. I know I get a lot of flack for that, so maybe I can do a live where I talk more about my thoughts on that, because my husband's a public school teacher. And obviously, like...
People...
Yeah.
Well, there's like... People are really weird about homeschooling online because there's like a couple prominent like... pretending to be homeschooler influencers that rage bait. People are really susceptible to misinformation via rage bait.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, obviously there are huge problems in homeschooling and unschooling communities, but people have online a very warped idea of what homeschooling and unschooling actually are outside of the rage bait video they saw on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. I think that's true. There's a lot of misconceptions. And also a lot of, I think that perception that it's black and white, it's a binary, and you can support multiple kinds of educational models at the same time, because we're really different people and people have different life circumstances. So recognizing that most people can't unschool, that means that we need to have robust public education, because the reality is most people are going to go to public school, and those kids deserve all of the same kind of autonomy and freedom and self-direction that kids that are able to be unschooled to get. So yeah, I just adore y'all. Thank you for sharing your brilliance with us. Well, we're muddling through, like we're not, we're just muddling through. I can sound very confident in a lot of my videos, but I think in real life, I've learned through a lot of errors. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I try and share what has worked for our family or things that have turned out well for us, right? Through lived experience, but...
Don't be parasocial kids. We're just normal chuds like you.
We're just normal. Well, we're not chuds, but I agree. Oh, okay, so I'm just reading through questions. Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm happy to have my account back too. Yeah, thank you. Hi, in Canada. Hi, Amora. I am going to try and do a live every single day during the weekdays for right now. So I think what I'm hearing is I should do a video themed on permaculture principles, and then a video themed on, or a live, themed on unschooling. So I'm happy to do that. And something, you always own it if something doesn't land quite right too. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Well, I make a lot of mistakes, so I don't want people to think that I'm perfect or that any creator's perfect, like everybody's really flawed. Partially, that's selfish on my part. I don't want the pressure of having to be perfect. But also I want other people to feel like they can be in process and learning, and they can fail and they can make mistakes and they can deconstruct from things, and that we can love people and partner with people and have relationships with people even if they're not perfect and even if they screw up really badly.
People on TikTok never want to admit when they're wrong. Like, nobody on the internet does, but especially on TikTok. I'm on TikTok for like 7 years or something. People hate admitting when they're wrong. Mm-hmm. They'll like pretend to admit they're wrong, but like they word it in a way that's like, well, actually it's not even my fault at all.
I think it's hard. I don't know how you can change the culture on TikTok to allow people to be like, oh, I really effed that up. Like, sorry guys, that was a bad take. Or for people to be in process, because sometimes I think people say something really confidently and then their opinions evolve, and someone will go back and be like, I found this thing you said 3 years ago. And people grow and they learn and they evolve. So yeah, right. If you're perfect, there's no room for growth. Exactly. I completely agree with that.
And also, nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
And a lot of people think there's no room for them to grow.
You and your kids are so aware and intelligent. What are your kids studying in college? Ruth is a fish and wildlife major, and she finished her minor in German already. My second kid, B, who's upstairs, she is a poli-sci major, and she is a junior, and her minor is law. So she's doing the pre-law program. My third kid, Hal, he's 17, so he is finishing his senior year of high school. He will graduate with his associate's degree, and he is a history major. And my fourth kid, George, is 14, and he's a freshman in high school. And this is his first year doing any formal education. So he's like full on unschooled, like completely self-directed. And then this year he decided to do what Hal is doing. He decided to do an early college program. So he doesn't know what he wants to major in. He's just figuring all of that out, which is totally fine, right? I knew what I wanted to do at 14. I was really confident in what I wanted to do, and I'm not doing any of that. I didn't go to medical school. I'm not doing any of that. So it's okay, I think, if he doesn't know. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go for like 4 more minutes. Does that sound okay, Ruth?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
I also am going to be putting out in the next couple of days a survey. I don't know if any of y'all follow Leafhopper. I don't know if they're Leafhopper Knits on TikTok or not. One of my favorite knitting accounts. She's also an entomologist, and she decided to put out a performance review. Like, we don't have a boss, we're our own boss. And so her whole idea is that creators should have a performance review where their viewers come in and give them feedback at the end of the year on how they can improve their content. So I asked her if I could copy her idea, and she was like, yes, I think every creator should do this. So I'm going to be putting out a Google Doc, a Google survey, and ask folks to fill that out and give me feedback so how I can take that data, that information on how to improve my platform going forward. So, Ruth, I've really enjoyed your perspective. Yeah.
Cool.
Is permaculture my job or my hobby? Maybe I'll take these last couple seconds and answer that as my last question. Both. So I have, for a lot of years before I did the kind of content that I do now, I did plant sales. I had, in particular, I did perennial fruit crops. I would do a lot of fruit propagation and sell my plants both on my Facebook page and at plant sales. I also taught classes that were either free or donate. People could just, through the gift economy, donate whatever they thought was valuable. And that was on urban permaculture, duck keeping, chicken keeping, beekeeping, especially urban fruit cultivation. So urban orcharding is probably my primary area of interest and expertise. And then I also redid people's yards. When I was younger, I hadn't torn my rotator cuff really badly yet. I would come and redo your yard and either do xeriscaping or I would do edible landscaping for people. But I am 46 now, and my body's pretty worn out. I pretty much destroyed it doing roller derby. And so I don't do any of that anymore. Most of my older YouTube content is all about garden design as well. So if you want to watch some of that from years past, I have years and years and years of permaculture gardening videos on YouTube. I love your content and have relied on you this year. Thank you. I also emulate many of your parenting ideas. Thank you. I got requests. I didn't get a chance to get to all of the requests that people put in on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, but some of those were to talk more about parenting, especially non-authoritarian parenting. So maybe I can do one of those later this week, and maybe my adult kids would be willing to come on and give their opinions. I did do derby. I was a referee and NSO at Rose City Rollers for many years. I was the head of their officiating up until 2020. So yeah.
And I was the captain of the junior team.
You were the captain of your junior team. Yeah. Both my daughters played roller derby before me. So, yeah. So thank you for coming onto my live. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I stayed on for an hour. If I hang on for one more minute, that'll be an hour. And
how many people are on?
My plan, 63. I think at the peak there were like 78. So thank you.
I have to impart my wisdom that I impart to everyone.
Yes.
If you have an orchid at home, or you know someone who has an orchid at home, check to see if the roots are wrapped in plastic, because this was my passion when I worked at a nursery. They sell orchids with the roots wrapped in plastic, and if there's no holes, orchids are arboreal, so they live in trees, they need a lot of air circulation. Orchid pots have holes in the side. If you have an orchid, doesn't matter how often you water it, in fact the more you water it, it'll get more root rot. It will die, and you'll be like, oh my god, I can't have plants. And so many orchids fall fate to this.
So Ruth's, maybe I'll go 5 minutes
Take
over.
the plastic off your orchids.
Ruth,
They're very easy. They're the easiest plants ever. Easier than epiprenums.
Ruth used to work at Portland Nursery, and houseplants are way her specialty. She has tons of houseplants, and I kill them. But she often gets half dead orchids off of like Facebook or Buy Nothing, and then she rehabs them. So orchids are your specialty. Yeah. I miss my orchid. My cat wants to naturally select itself, though. That's true. Why are they wrapped? To keep pests out?
For artificial scarcity, so you'll buy a new one.
That's a good point, actually.
Well, because people want them for the flowers.
Yeah.
And if they die before they can flower more than once, then you'll get a new one.
That's true. But if you unwrap them and take good care of them, they'll flower over and over again. Yeah. How do you... Oh, I came late. How do you keep orchids from dying? Because they're epiphytic, you unwrap them and make sure they're not wrapped in plastic, and they have good air holes, right?
They come in a pot. Usually the pot has no holes in it. And usually the roots are wrapped in plastic. So they need to be in a pot that has good drainage and has some air on the roots. Mainly they just need to be not wrapped in plastic, because every time you water them, it's trapping mold and moisture in there. They live in trees, so they get a lot of air on their roots. And sometimes you'll see their roots growing out of the pot to try and get air.
Love your necklace. Thank you. I got this at the thrift store. My dad was a big woodworker, and I used to do a lot of woodworking with him. After he passed away, most of his woodworking tools went to my brother in Southern California. So I don't really do that much anymore. But I saw this at the thrift store, and this is clearly homemade. Some woodworker took his little scraps and made a necklace. And so I was like, usually my limit at the thrift store is $5. This was $7, and I was like, I have to get this. And I get so many compliments. One of the best things about being in your mid-40s is you're in your statement jewelry era. Not that you can't do that in your 20s, but you just I personally feel a lot more confident wearing big, clunky jewelry. So yeah, I get a lot of compliments for that. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up here in a second. Thanks everybody for coming on, and I will do another one of these tomorrow. I'll probably have it be themed around the 12 principles of permaculture. So if folks have ideas for questions or specifics that you would like me to cover about that, you can either join me for the live, or you can leave questions in advance either on Facebook or on any of my TikTok videos over the next day. And thanks, Ruth, for joining me.
No, again.
Okay, and now I have to figure out how to get out of this live. Y'all, I tried to do it last night, and do you know how to exit a live? Do it down here?
Do you just hit the off button?
Do I hit the off button in the top? Okay, we're going to try it, guys. I'm going to try and leave. Thanks so much.